Well, good afternoon, everyone. As we're all fouling here, it's great to see you. We're super excited to um, go through the process of introducing you to Dr. Andersen. Some of you may know who he is, some of you may not. And, this group was created by JC and I don't know, JC, a few years ago. We just saw a need to find a place where healthcare providers or professionals of all backgrounds could come together on what we felt was common ground. And that was, we thought that we were all seeing that lifestyle was a common factor that was affecting people that in every walk of life, and that we could, come together and offer people a solution and give them the opportunity to address this need. And so we're excited that you're here. My name is Dr. Mike Mills. I am a practicing chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor for 23 years. So JC and I will come from more of the what do I want to say, natural healthcare side of things. Dr. Andersen will offer his perspective from the place of traditional medicine, but also 20 years of helping people to transform their life and what he's learned by that. You want to jump in, JC, and introduce yourself to everyone?
I will. Thanks so much. What an honor to be here. It's if I really think about it from a perspective of somebody that was in the shoes of somebody that was looking at this from the outside in. Now, back then, we didn't have things like Zoom. So we would I think I popped a CD in my car or something like that to hear Dr. A speak for the first time. But um, but I just remember that I was different then. I was a different person. I could only see what I could see. And so I'm when I say hello to you and welcome you, I just want to, I guess, come from a place of, saying that congratulations on finding your way here. Your potential and opportunity has just expanded beyond measure by exposing yourself to something that might be different than what you're doing. I was very, very much tied into what I was doing. And my entire life has changed beyond my physical health. I mean, it's funny to hear that story, Mike, because, that conversation that Mike and I had when we started masterminding this was not just focused on how can we help more people, but it was also how can we guide health professionals to figure something out that we had figured out. And of course, that conversation would never have happened if I didn't get healthy, because that was in a gym at I think 5 in the morning, we had that conversation. So a little bit of synchronicity there, but this is powerful what we're about to be exposed to. So welcome everybody, and I'm so happy that you're here.
Awesome. Well, it's my pleasure and honor to introduce you guys, our mentor, and I can say our friend, Dr. A. He, if you have never met Dr. A, you're in for a treat. And I always feel like this is where you shine the most, Dr. A, and just these interview opportunities where you can just share from your heart. But he spent 20 years as a critical care surgeon. He was the 10th physician ever board certified in critical care. And after 20 years, he uh, he decided to make a change. He saw what was happening in the health of our country. He saw what was happening within healthcare, and he wanted to move upstream. Rather than reacting and responding to disease, he wanted to give people an opportunity to create optimal health and well-being. And now he's spent the last 20 years doing that, showing people and offering people a path to go from where they are to where they want to be in their health and well-being. And so I think in healthcare, all of us resonate with that. But, one of the other things is that, yes, he's a visionary in this area and has created this opportunity for all of us. But at heart, he's a practitioner and realizes that we have to be able to help people. This has to be something that, we can do and serve people and connect with them where they are and guide them to where they want to go. And he's living it. I know this winter he went on a trip and did some heli skiing with his daughter. Last week he was in Colorado, mountain bike down over mountains. And, you know, that he's not just giving us a theory, he's living the habits of health. So, Dr. A, we're super excited for you to be with us today. And maybe I'll just let you open up and introduce yourself, and then we'll maybe start some questions.
Great. Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, JC. I see a lot of my friends on here, fellow practitioners. I see Frank and Eric and basically Jan and Paula. We got the whole gang here, which is great. I love doing. You're right. This is really the area that I like more than any other areas, getting together with like-minded people and just exploring what the possibilities are. I was just over this morning. I'm building a house on the ocean, and they're putting the landscaping in. And I watched over the last couple of days the lead guy. Now you got to remember, this is Florida in the summertime. It's August. It's like 95 degrees and probably 150% humidity. I mean, I got sweaty just walking up the stairs, and I'm watching the lead, the guy that manages this landscaping crew, and he's out there. And I said, these are huge palm trees they're putting in, and where one was didn't provide the right kind of blockage that I wanted. So I go to him, hey, could you move this? And I'm thinking I'm just going to get all this pushback. Next thing I know, he's sure, doc. Next thing I know, he's down there himself, the leader of this group, digging out this hole. I mean, just digging out this hole, and they're moving this tree, and he's leading the way. He's leading, right? He's leading. He's not sitting there pointing his finger. He's leading. And so today, I had an opportunity, went back, and they made a lot of great changes. And I was talking to him, and I said, you really are a great inspiration for your people, for the people you lead. And he goes, Doc, it's exercise. People go to the gym, and basically they pay to go exercise. I get paid to exercise, and so it's just a shift in here, And I looked at it, because that is not. I mean, I have to tell you, there's a lot of reasons I'm glad I got an education, and that's one of them, because I can imagine how hard that is. And they work really hard. They work from sun up to sundown. Now, why am I talking about that? For several reasons. The first reason is that in our minds as healthcare practitioners, right now, the job is tough. It's a tough job. There's no question about it. Started with COVID. COVID kind of put like the icing on the cake, so to speak, about what our role was and how we fit in. And not only with administrations and with the government and the way we get paid, but also in terms of, what they really think about us, right? That we are just a soldier for them, and we're no longer in charge. And when I left 20 plus years ago, I saw the beginning of that. If you want to say visionary, I've envisioned what was going to happen to healthcare, and it became a big business. It's a healthcare galaxy. And with that, the primary thing is making money. And I hate to say that, but it kind of takes us away. And you got to hear from two chiropractors, and we have a bunch of chiropractors who basically practice a holistic approach. But the reality is, in that approach, we really can have the long-term effect we want, right? We've got just a short amount of time in practice, whatever practice you have. Bottom line is, you got 5 minutes, the 5-minute lecture. And so, watching that and understanding that is not the way we're going to get people healthy. And so I'm more convinced now that what we do is more important than any other time in the face of the planet. And part of that is because you have to be under a rock if you haven't realized that the GLP-1 drugs, these what traditional medicine is calling anti-obesity medicines, are now here to stay. They're not only a fad, but because they do create results, people are going to take the easy route, and that's okay, because what I've done is prospectively reframed, just like that lead foreman in the landscaping reframed it, and he goes to work like, hey, I'm working out, I'm getting great exercise, and I'm getting paid for it. We need to realize these drugs are here to stay. But here's the deal. They are still something outside of us, and everybody on this call knows that for you to change and become a healthy person requires lifestyle change. It requires a change in perspective, requires a change in choices, and it requires a change in behavior. And so I get excited because you guys all have so much experience in studying, the human body and understanding how it works and how it doesn't work. And where we are now is we are facilitators or guides of helping people create health. And it starts with us. Mike's right. I mean, I literally got an e-bike. I had never really spent much time in the summertime out in the mountains, and I have a place in Vail I use mostly in the winter. but I got a couple of mountain bikes, and I thought, you know, I live at sea level. There's no way I'm going to climb up a mountain, you know, go from sea level to 8,000 feet. So I got these e-bikes, and the e-bikes are great because you can do as little or as much as you want. And so, like for instance, last week, Erica and I, she started vet school this week, and so we wanted to spend some time bonding together. Basically, went out there, and the gondola was closed, so we went up the mountain with an e-bike. Now, I don't care how much augmentation, it's a lot of work to go up a mountain. I'm talking going up 3,000 feet, almost straight up, but I could do it. And because of technology, I was able to do it. And now I've got a new love, something I can't wait to go back. My point is that in helping people create health, we have new technology as well. We have these new GLP-1 drugs, which are really, in my opinion, helping us fight the food noise that comes from fighting the food industry. The food industry has been creating nutritionally polluted food, highly processed food. And if someone basically is highly susceptible, and in the Habits Health system I created in Element 16 in the Life book, looking at susceptibility, but very similar to an alcoholic. An alcoholic, once they've become sober, they can't drink any alcohol, or boom, they're back off the wagon and they're drinking again. The same thing with this food. So now we have a weapon to help quiet the brain while we teach people the habits of health. So we're more important now than ever, and more people, I mean, they're making the drugs better, there are less side effects, but they don't create health. They don't give a patient or a client the opportunity to truly understand what they need to do to create health. And, you know, you can give JC and Mike, I know in practice, you know, you come in, you do an adjustment because the person's lifestyle choices have created, you know, back dysfunction or somatic dysfunction in their hips or their, you know, in their neck. And you make a correction to them and you say, hey, listen, you need to do more of this. And bottom line is, most of the time they just wait and let it go wrong and then come back in a month or so. And you give them a little lecture, but you're not there to truly be with them right in their everyday life. That's where Optavia, that's where our process, that's where our ability through 4 components. And now with the augmentation of working with healthcare professionals, we can now quarterback helping people create health in their lives. So I know I rambled on there a little bit, but I've never been more convicted that this is the time and place where now, because we have stronger technology to help fight the food industry, we're going to be able to help a lot more people and have them truly take control and become healthy. And healthy is an identity. It's not, oh, I'm not having a hot fudge sundae because I know it's bad for me. It's no, I'm making the choice to have, you know, fruit or whatever is there because that's who I am. I'm no longer an unhealthy. I'm actually a healthy person that makes these choices because they support what I want. So there you go.
Beautiful, Dr. A. That tees us up perfectly. And, you know, I was looking at the chat. JC was asking, you know, what kind of health professional, you know, are you? And so we have a very diverse group here today, you know, from inside of traditional medicine to, you know, people that come from a more holistic approach. But how would you describe to them who we are or who is Optavia?
Yeah. Well, you know, we are a like-minded group of people who have come together and we've created a mission, and the mission is to offer an option for people that raise their hand. We're not for everybody. You know, if you're not willing to take personal responsibility and learn and grow and work with your coach and use the system, you're not going to be successful. But if you are, and you truly do want health. So, you know, the question I usually ask people has nothing to do with the features of our program. It's really this question: if you could choose optimal health, would you make that choice? And people will kind of hem and haw and say, I say, no. I'm not asking if you think you can do that. I'm saying, if you could have that choice, would you take that choice? And if they say yes, it's great, we can help you. Because what I've learned over the last it's over 20 years. So it's not like this is something we just picked up or we just saw these GLP-1 drugs, so now we want to get into nutrition and the exercise business. This is the way we approach creating health for people, and it's the creative process. And in that process, once they take responsibility, we're going to give them the 3 things that are absolutely essential. And the first one is we're going to give them a path, because without a path, your day is full of distraction. I mean, there's a great book written on Indistractable. But the point is, there's so much going on. You know, there's a million things you can do that take you off and actually relieve that angst inside, the mental angst, like, oh, I know I need to get healthier. Well, boom, you go on the internet or you go on Netflix or you sit down and have a bowl of ice cream while you're watching because we get distracted. But if you truly do want, first thing is you have to have a path, and we've created it. The habit cell transmissional system I developed over, basically in two iterations, and its new iteration. It's a journey of 20 plus years, and I'm actually writing some new things now, what I've learned, because it went from, hey, let me show you how to eat healthier, to now a lot of it is right here. Because just like that landscaper, I'm actually just so in awe of that guy, and I was in awe watching him, and I was thinking, God, this guy's been working at this job for 20 years, and he approaches it like he's a brand new kid on his first day before he gets the blisters and quits on the second day. I mean, that's the intensity. And it was a mind shift for him. And he says, I talk to the people I work with, his employees, and he says, some of them get it, some of them don't get it. And that's the same way with health. Some people get it, some people don't get it. But by having a coach, having the support of a coach, having a path, and having a community, like just what we're doing today, for everybody on this call, I'm looking at Eric there, and Eric, I don't know how many hours you work a week, but I know that it's tough work, and you're in there working, and I know you enjoy this because it's it's what you really want for yourself, and why you went to school, why you went to medical school was because you this desire to help people. We're not going to get everybody, but the people that truly want it, every day I get up every day and ask myself, how can I help people make lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time? And the other part of that is predictable transformation. Predictable transformation actually means that if you do the things that we provided and you actually learn them, you will get healthier. See, unlike blue-green algae from the bottom of a volcano or tree bark from the lower Amazon, and the same thing with the GLP-1 drugs on a more advanced way. If you think you can do something outside of you and take a pill or get a shot and you're going to be healthy, you are sadly mistaken. In fact, we're about ready in this world. That's why we have this huge wave building where all these people are going on these medications. And bottom line is there are side effects. I mean, it just came out a couple of weeks ago and reconfirmed that suicidal ideation is one of the things. Well, I wonder why. We're taking the pleasure centers of the brain and we're shutting them down. And all of a sudden now you're just probably not quite as happy as you were before. You can't mess with Mother Nature long term. So the drugs, yeah, they're great for a short period of time, but people are going to get tachyphylaxis. They're going to stop being effective. They're starting to lose that, they lose a certain amount of weight and then they stop losing weight and they need higher and higher doses. Third is they're getting sarcopenia, which is catastrophic for older people. In fact, people in their 60s and 70s, and we have a large group that are overweight or obese, going on these medications and not eating properly, not moving their body properly, not sleeping well, not changing their underlying surroundings, are putting themselves in a state where their body composition is going to dramatically accelerate sarcopenia. And they're going to find in another 5 years that their muscle mass is much less. They're going to the drugs aren't going to work anymore. And then they're going to start gaining their weight back when they go off them in a New York minute, and they're going to be in worse shape than they were before because they're we know one thing, and in the habits of health, there's a path to longevity, which includes moving to ultra health. And ultra health is a lot about maintaining and building muscle. Mike, you know that. I mean, you've seen dramatic change in yourself. And you're not in your 50s and 60s yet, but you can see the difference in how you feel, the energy level. And as we get older, the risk of hip fracture, the risk of losing balance, there's so many things that are going to accelerate that process. So we are needed more than ever, and basically evolving to the point where we become the partners. And actually our coaches, it's a long answer to a short question, but our coaches literally are the quarterbacks. They're the quarterbacks of helping guide a patient or a client to better health. Without them, the use of having a healthcare professional to give an injection and manage the side effects is great, but that is just a tool in the process of creating health. Health Coaches, Optavia, is in the business of helping people create better health and well-being.
God, so many things running through my mind when I hear you say that. And the first one is I am 53, and I was in the gym this morning and I did 20 pull-ups. So I might not look like Mike Mills, but I'm working on it. And that's just an amazing thing for me to think about is to not just be as a result of this, system that I've followed for almost 20 years now. I don't find myself trying to survive. I find myself seeking out new levels of thriving, So that's just an amazing thought process. And I'm the health professional. So that leads me to the next question. Keeping in mind that we have all different types of realities here. We've got the I won't mention his age, but he's older than 53, who's heli skiing and mountain biking, right? So that's one reality. Got someone like me, but then you also have people that are kind of on the outside looking in. And I remember what I wanted to know, and I would assume most people do, because this is the question Mike and I hear most often from health professionals, is just as simple as we can put it, there's really two demands that Optavia shows up for. And that's what's unique. A lot of people don't even think about that because when you're a health professional, you're in service to humanity mode. You're looking to help your patients and all of that, forgetting about your lifestyle very often. I was always in this pattern of saying, maybe one day I'll be successful enough to have a life. What I learned is that the more successful I got in my practice, I had less free time. But that's a whole other story. But that is a demand, is the lifestyle of the health professional. But what I'd love you to touch on right now, the most common question is, well, how does it work? How do we, because you've done a great job of explaining the problem, the current reality and the trajectory that it's on. But in so many words, how would you explain to somebody the basic essence of how we help people create health with our program?
Yeah, that's a great question, JC. And as I'm sitting there listening to you talk and looking around me, the thing that we end up a tendency to do as healthcare professionals is we self-soothe ourselves, right? Because we work our butts off. And I mean, listen, as a critical care practitioner, I helped pioneer that, especially. And I started working when I was in my late 20s at Jackson Memorial in Miami as I trained in this new profession. I was one of the first, and I worked 80 hours a week. And, when I was 28 years old and I was in my fellowship because I was so excited about it, I could do it. I could do it. And, but I realized, when I was in my 40s and the start of my 50s, doing that was raising hell with my body. And then with managed care coming in, it wasn't about, I was doing it because I was in control. All right, I was the person in control, and because of that, I literally was able to basically do it because I felt good and I chose to make those choices. But when managed care came in, all of a sudden someone else is in control. And I don't know about you guys, but I know this: I don't like someone to tell me what to do. And so why I'm saying that to start the answer to your question, JC, is because having autonomy, and many, chiropractors, because it's the good and the bad of being a chiropractor. You're kind of your own boss, but you're kind of your own boss. So you're responsible for everything, and you're out there on a limb by yourself. The deal is with Optavia, we are creating a like-minded group of people who are evolving, growing, and knowing. I was on a call with Jim Defner, a dear friend of mine, a couple of days ago, and he was sitting up in his lake house, and we were just talking about how amazing every day of our life is. So as a healthcare professional, if you're self-soothing yourself on the weekends by doing whatever you do, and you buy a bigger house and you get a nicer car, none of that stuff really works, because if inside you're feeling more and more less fulfilled in what you're doing because people are telling you what to do, you don't have enough time to really do what you want for your patients, that's an issue. So what do we do in Optavia? We basically practice what we preach, and that is, we know the importance of taking care of ourselves. We know the importance of having the time to take care of ourselves. We know how important it is to get the suffering that goes on with living life in our personal minds up here, how to work on that and build psychological flexibility. And then, of course, we have the obvious. The obvious is we built a program, started off when I built my relationship 20 plus years ago with Medifast, of using fuelings, or they were called portion control meal replacements, to help people start on the journey towards better health. And better health starts first with losing weight. We know this, that all the things, if I list all the things that being overweight or obese causes, cancers, heart disease, it goes on and on and on, inflammatory disease, I mean, it is the harbinger, the mother of all diseases. And you can call obesity a disease, but really for most, yes, there's genetic propensity. There's also an environment that's obesogenic, but the reality is in that is telling you that there's dysfunction inside of us. So what we're basically doing is creating a psychological safe place for you to come into where you can work with like-minded people that aren't going to judge you. There's no fat prejudice. There's none of that going on. And you're in an environment where we're going to help you. We're going, it's like, it's help like, let me take you by the hand. Let me help you. That's a very different philosophy that's going out in the fear-based world, in the real world, that's full of anxiety. So our whole thing is, if you decide to become a client or a patient, is we start off by basically welcoming you, bringing you into a place where we're going to focus at your own pace. And Mike hit on this in the beginning. It's a word I learned almost 2 decades ago called autonomy supportive. Rather than telling you as a physician, as we do, to do this, do that, and do this, but actually, it's funny because it used to be, I was looking back at some old advertising. They used to have physicians selling Lucky Strikes, which were a type of cigarette. Physicians sitting there, smoking cigarettes. Say, yeah, these are the best ones to use because they got a filter on them, right? So to Jason, your point earlier, yeah, you learned about health and helping people, and we're telling them what to do while we're just doing whatever we want to do. And I remember, it's like burned in my mind, the picture of you sitting on the beach with your little kids at the time. They're now grown adults, but bottom line, and being pretty overweight, and then you're going into practice. So the real most important thing we do at Optavia, we basically say, hey, if you're interested in getting better health, we're going to help you. Then we're going to find where you are, what the areas we need to work on, and then we're going to help you. We have tools, we have strategies, we have guidance, and we have support to help move you on and give you the things virtually from the comfort of your home. And you're right, when we first started, we didn't have Zoom. What a great mechanism this is for us to be able to be together and help people get healthy. And the part about it that I love is, the world is, over the last 2 years, the weight loss revolution that's occurring because of these new medications basically has thrown most of the diet companies into bankruptcy. They're falling on the vine. We are simply adjusting because our principle, using the fuelings to help you lose weight, is only one of the mechanisms we use. The mechanisms, and what I did in design of the Habit Cell system is I found what are the long-term things that we have to do to create health. Those will never change. Doesn't matter if they come up with a super shot and they can go in there and put you in an oxygen chamber and push a button and have the special flash that you suddenly go down to a healthy weight. When you come out of that chamber, if you set down back on this planet, you're going to get back same weight, same situation. So what it requires a community, it requires direction, it requires support, and it requires the tools. And we've added now, hey, great, these GLP-1 drugs are another tool in phase 1, which is reaching a healthy weight, and a little bit in phase 2. And one of the things I'm experimenting with is helping people start microdosing, where they're still using just a little bit to get the edge off, till they build muscle mass. They build the ability to expend more energy. They build the ability to really know that they become a healthy person. And, I'll just end with one last thing. I was talking to somebody that was on these medications about 4 months ago, and they're now off them, by the way. And they were saying, like, I'm really worried. And I said, listen, I want you to do an experiment. And you might have heard me say this before. I said, I want you to go and buy some grapes, the seedless grapes on the vine. I want you to go buy some of those, right? And because I said, do you eat? Because no, I like them, but you know what? I never eat them. I ended up, grabbing a Snickers bar before or whatever. Because you know why? Because you're getting such a whack, such a click on your dopamine and your nucleus accumbens that a grape can't compare with that. So of course, between the two of them, it's like, do I want 10 milligrams of morphine or do I want 0.1 milligram of morphine? Hey, if you want the jolt, you're going to eat the Snickers bar. You're not going to eat the grape. But here's the thing. I said, while you're on these medications and while that noise level is low, I want you said you like grapes. So Go get a whole thing, put those in your refrigerator. And basically, when you feel like you feel a little hungry, go get a little group of grapes on one of the vines and sit down and put them in the refrigerator so they're cool and sit there and take one off. So take the process, take one off, chew down on it, feel as it ruptures that wonderful taste of that fructose, this sugarish, but it's full of fiber, and enjoy it. And then do that slow. So it takes you 15 minutes versus 1 minute to eat a Snickers bar, and eat that slowly and just feel it and sense it. And because you're not having all the sugar in your diet, that fructose actually may seem really sweet. And so we started doing that. And basically, about a month later, I was talking to him and he said, you know what? I don't know how I ever ate. My son had not a Snickers, but some other kind of candy. And I had a little bite of it and it made me want to throw up. I felt terrible. Yes, that's the whole thing. The thing is to lower the noise and start learning healthy habits. When you learn healthy habits now, and I tell you, I do the same thing. I have grapes right now. Right before I got on this call, I was feeling a little hungry, and it's not time for my 3-hour fueling. So I basically went and grabbed them, and because I'm at a healthy weight now, and I loved it. It felt great, and I have lots of energy. I don't have any craving to go eat a hot fudge sundae. In fact, when that happens, because you know what's going to happen. We're in Vail. I'm at a great restaurant, and it's Italian restaurant, our favorite Italian restaurant. And my daughter wants to get creme brulee. Did I say, no, I can't have it? No, I said, yeah, let me try it. And I had one taste of it. I said, yeah, that tastes okay. But I didn't want any more of it. I just didn't want it. And that's the whole point. That's what Optavia is. We are a safe place to come and start learning healthy behaviors and over time become a healthy person. This isn't what you expected today, I don't think. But you know what? I'll teach you how to eat grapes any day.
No, it's great, Dr. A, because this is the practicality of how we actually step in and help people, right? And we have a system for it, right? We do. And you know, I came to this because I needed to get healthy, right? I wasn't at my optimal place at that time. I was running my practice. My kids were 9, 11, and 13. All I did was run from ball field to ball field, and my health was slipping away from me, right? And I knew it, and it was really a reality check for me because here I wasn't knowing everything, right? It wasn't an issue of knowledge of what to do. It was practically breaking that down and bringing that into my life. And so one of the things that was the most helpful for me, but I can honestly say I was a little reluctant with in the beginning, was using fuelings. And on the other side of that, I found that fueling my body every 3 hours, right? Eating 6 times a day, providing myself with a nutrient-rich, convenient fueling allowed me to start to gain some traction and learn some habits and start to move forward. And I start to feel really good, right? I started getting leaner and having more energy. So when you devise the system, you created all of that into there. But since we're here with healthcare providers, maybe you could give us a little science behind why you came up with fueling the body 6 times a day and why those portion control meal replacements, or what we call fuelings, were so critical as a step in meeting people where they are.
Yeah. Well, when I first decided to go do this, and I was lucky, I had an amazing wife who said, sure, let's go do this together. I mean, to have that, because we had 3-month and 3-year-old kids. So it was like I left, being a director, and I was the chairman of my department, and left it all to start from scratch. I mean, that, if you think about it, I look back, I was a little insane, right? But I recognized that the world was going the wrong way. I mean, when I left, it was 63% people were overweight or obese. Now it's 74%. So even with our work, we've only not even dented. In fact, it's getting worse. So the need for what we do is more important than ever. And so what I wanted to do is make sure that everything we added that would stand the test of time. It needed to be fundamentally sound. It couldn't be a gimmick. It had to be something that created a change. And when I looked to find out with the National Weight Control Registry what actually worked, The most prominent thing that worked the most reliable of people transforming, losing weight and keeping it off, and the National Weight Control Registry, if you're not familiar, was Rena Wing and James Hill. This is like they did a register looking at people that lost at least 50 pounds and kept it off at least 5 years. So that was pretty significant because it's pretty rare. And the key things they did univariate analysis to look at the science behind it of what actually worked. And one of the things that worked the best was medical triggers. What I mean by that, someone that had a heart attack or a stroke were more likely to lose weight and keep it off because fundamentally their psyche was rocked, right? They had a dysfunctional thing happen. I thought, well, that's great. And, I don't want to wait for people to have that happen. So what could we do to create the teachable moment? And as I looked out there, I knew because there were family doctors that I had seen while I was as a hospitalist that would come in and they would look, I'd see them lose weight and get healthy for a while. And I'd say, wow, what are you doing? And they were using Medifast. They were using this VLCD, very low calorie diet, and it was working. Unfortunately, I would see over time that they would gain their weight back because they were using it as a diet, not as part of a program. So I thought, okay, well, let's use that to start because eating food that was designed to be healthy, low glycemic, portion control, all the vitamins and minerals, nutritionally sound, and yet quantity smaller, energy basically dense, but full of nutrition made sense. So I thought, why don't we use this as the teachable moment? And it's very true. If you go on the 5 and 1 in the first 2 or 3 weeks, if you do it correctly, you'll lose weight and you feel better. You have more energy. Your patients or your clients going into the office, people are saying, would you get your hair cut? You look better, and they would start to have positive reinforcement. Self-efficacy is the key part for someone to actually make transformational change. You have to have something happen that helps create that confidence to move them forward. So in those first 2 or 3 weeks, they would lose weight and they would do it safely. And the thing that was nice, and I see Dominic Tirinelli's on one of the things, he lost 50 pounds. And when I saw him, his face was beautiful. I mean, he had beautiful skin. So he wasn't losing it unsafely. He had lost at the time, I believe it was like 20 pounds or so, and his glow on his face because we're giving the proper nutrition, the proper vitamins and minerals, and people are losing weight safely and effectively. I got to tell you, if you look at the new weight loss drugs, you look at people that are on them, they've got the Ozempic butt and they've got that gaunt look on their face because they're not eating healthy. So bottom line is by itself, that's why we fit right in. These drugs are our tool. They fight the nutritional pollution, the highly susceptible nature of processed food. But without Optavia, without using our healthy fuelings, without using our balanced protein, using our active line, protecting and building muscle, people are not going to do it the right way. So that was the key part. That's why I basically created an agreement with the CEO at the time, Brad McDonald, shook hands, and we had an agreement that I would get the products for the same price that they were being sold to physicians. And then we started with initially Health Inventions became Take Shape for Life, and eventually now has evolved to Optavia as we become an international brand. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the coach, having a personal guide. And we designed it in the beginning. The company said, well, let's charge for coach. I said, no, don't charge for the coaching. Let's use the feelings as the economic driver. We're we're just replacing their groceries. We're becoming their partner. It doesn't cost. So if someone asks, is it expensive? Say no. Do you eat? Because if you eat, we're just switching out your groceries, right, for the fuelings. And I'm going to coach you for free. So that in itself then gives that client, that patient, someone that's there that cares about them, that's empathetic to them, meeting them where they are and starting them on the journey. Third, I started off basically looking what were the initial habits that were necessary. And the way the co-genitor of the habits of health was something called Be Slim. We knew from the National Weight Control Registry that breakfast was important. E, exercise was important. S, support was important. L, low-fat 5 to 6 meals per day was important. I, an individual plan to meet someone's lifestyle. And M, monitor yourself weekly, not daily, because we're always going to fluctuate, but weekly, and what I would say is just get a tight-fitting pair of jeans and try them on. If you got to get on the bed and lean back to, take a deep breath and let it all out to put them on, then that's probably telling you that, hey, I need to be more vigilant. That's where the habit cell started with Be Slim. And now it's evolved to a comprehensive approach, which is different than, there's nothing like it. We trademark the company. We together as a company, we own the Habits of Health system. It's unique, and we're the only ones that have it. And we don't, even with the weight loss drugs now, they're saying, well, you need to eat better and exercise. We have a comprehensive approach. The 6 macro habits would cover those 2, but it also covers this, and it covers your surroundings, and it covers, obviously the healthy mind is a critical part. You can lose all the weight, but if you're not, if you want to beat yourself up and you're stressed out, you're not sleeping well, you're not going to have long-term success. So we've used science. If you look at the Habits of Health, there's 20 pages of references. It's all based on proven science, proven research, and it's designed so it will last as long as we're still here on this planet, if we don't nuke ourselves, right?
You just hit on something what's interesting. I just want to share with everybody. I've been coaching now for 20 years almost. And I'm in a complete reality change. I mean, it's almost like a fantasy world. I never thought that I would ever look at life like I do right now. But I very often get glimpses of what it was like in the beginning. And I remember when I was in a contemplative phase, like somebody that's here now potentially is, I remember that I had reasons that I was curious about this, but I also had reasons why I was not. And what was interesting is in listening to Dr. A explain what it is that Optavia accomplishes, I agreed on everything. I agreed on the fact that people needed nutrition. I agreed that people needed to fuel their bodies and get macronutrients in. I agreed on everything. But where I was stuck at that time was that I wished that people would do it the way I wanted them to do it. But then all of a sudden something clicked in my head and said, oh, how's that going? Because I don't know if you guys can relate, but I was what you called a healthy fat guy. And what that means is that I was 80 pounds overweight, eating healthy, just eating a lot, right? And probably not exercising. So my question to you is this, Dr. A, because I think this is super, super relevant. And I would just love to hear how you approach this. It's potentially an ego issue or an unconscious one where a health professional is so tethered to what it is that they have directed their passion, time, and focus and money towards that very often they can't expand themselves to just get results. But what do you say to somebody like I was that, says something like, oh, I only offer whole food to people or something like that? How do you approach that? Because that was the bridge that I crossed and became free as a result.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And, it's funny because when I first started hearing that years ago, I would say, well, no, you're right. Our bars don't grow on trees. We don't harvest them, from a bush. They are designed. They are processed food, but they are designed specifically to create an environment where your body can create health. And what I mean by that, they're low glycemic, because 87 million Americans have hyperinsulinemia. They literally have metabolic syndrome. And most of that, their insulin level is really high. It's because they're eating processed food, and the processed food bumps their insulin. I talk about it in the Habits of Health. So the first thing is they're designed to be low glycemic. Second of all, they're balanced protein and carbohydrate. Third of all, they have all the vitamins and minerals. And so what they do is they help the body shut down or turn off insulin and stop fat storage so that the fat can be released. So that there's science in that that's very important. Yeah, you can eat organic food. You can eat pure organic food, everything that comes out and has nothing done to it. But if you're 50 pounds overweight, the theoretical advantage of having pure food versus the real reality is if you're 50 pounds overweight, you're at much higher risk for all the things we talked about. In fact, univariate analysis, cancers, heart disease, stroke, it goes on and on and on, diabetes. I mean, the list, 5 of the top killers are all lifestyle induced and dramatically 90% reduction in cardiovascular risk if you reach a healthy weight. So the theoretical advantages of pure food, and by the way, if you live in a local area and you can get healthy food, great. But you think about scurvy, okay? If you lived in the north in the wintertime, you got scurvy because you weren't going to get the fruit from Florida, and by the time it got up there, it was rotten. So there are some advantages using preservatives. Do we want to become preservative free? Yes, of course we do. But the reality is, our goal is not for you to stay on the fuelings for the rest of your life. The goal, and by the way, if there is anything in them, you're having 100 calories. You're having a very small amount. You're not having a huge amount of any of these things. And when they do these studies and look at things that are bad for you, if you have 5 pounds of it, you're going to get in trouble. So the relative disadvantage of it not being whole food that comes out of the garden is far outweighed by the effectiveness of it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, and what I would say now to any healthcare professional, is you have a thing called the shadow. And the shadow is that your personal mind basically is conceptually organize the world into your story. And your story, and I'll use an example of this because, I used to put arterial lines in people's arteries for big significant surgeries. And when I read back at how that all got started 20 years before, or you looked at BMI and basically the risk, it was actually a dentist that looked at people with amputees that lost limbs and stuff. So a lot of the stuff that conceptually keeps moving forward is based on facts. It's kind of like, if in your house, you've maybe heard the story about, your daughter asks, well, why do you cut the ends off of the ham or the prime rib? She goes, because my mother did, and then my grandmother did. And then you go ask grandma, why'd you cut it? She goes, because my pan was only this big, right? But it becomes the way. In our minds, our personal minds are the way. They are nothing more than a accumulation of our experiences over time. So we conceptually think, well, this is the way it's got to be. And most of it, honestly, is a bunch of BS. So reality is, and as you can see in this call today, if this is the first time we've talked together, is I'm pretty much based on pragmatic approach, right? I'm looking at what is the significance of what we're doing. And I can tell you that keeping the cost down and not going, if we did everything fully naturally, it would cost $1,000 a month to use the fuelings. So sometimes you have to figure out, what is the trade-off? Now we continue to make those better. There were people that over the last couple of decades had said, some of them, because of the sugar alcohols, they were having GI issues. So we've evolved those things and made sure they're better and they're safer and they're healthier. But bottom line is, we're in the business of creating health and well-being. So we're not going to give you something that's bad for you. We're going to use these tools to help move you to the point where over time, specifically in the Habits of Health, there is a healthy eating system which you can use every day that doesn't use any of the fuelings. The goal is, we would love you to be there, and I'm more there than I ever was, but you know what? Every morning when I get up, I have the Optavia brownie. Why? Starts my day. It's low glycemic. Fulfills my hunger. It's 100 calories. It's great with my coffee. And coffee, by the way, is healthy for us. There's lots of great studies showing that. So I'm starting off healthy, taking me 3 minutes, and I don't have to go prepare something. And I have to tell you, going to the grocery store, I basically go do that for us. I still, I don't care whether it's Kasha or all these that are advertised, when I go in and I look and turn the box back, the back of the box, and it says it's 360 calories for a cup of this cereal, I'm not talking about Kellogg's, which obviously is pure trash. They sprinkle a little bit of vitamins over it and say now it's healthy breakfast of champions. Just like, why do we have Coca-Cola in the Olympics is just beyond my fathom. It's just this hypocrisy of the food industry. But when I go to the grocery store, honestly, unless I want to go to some health store, which I don't go to, where you can get some tree bark, not tree bark, but twigs and whole flakes. Otherwise, I find that eating my brownie is the easiest way for me to start my day in a healthy way. Just the practical part of that, because yeah, I mean, like Hugh Gibbons, or I think that's what his name is, the guy. Yeah, I'd love to be able to go out and forage in the garden, but I don't have time for that in my life. So I choose to do something. And what I can tell you is, and you, as all the chiropractors on here know, when I take my patient and they've been on the Feelings and they've lost 30 pounds and they're starting to move more, they feel better. They're using Stop, Challenge, and Choose for their health. They're having you guide them to the community calls. They've changed the surroundings in their house so they're healthier, and they're working on their flexibility. Those people are a hell of a lot healthier than the people that are going to Whole Foods, spending 3 times as much, and they're 50 pounds overweight. That's all I had to say about that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said it, because it changed my life completely and allowed me to change thousands of other people's lives. I stood in my office for 7 years thinking everybody had to do it the way I said, because that's what I said in my classes. And whenever you showed me a path where I could be awakened to meeting people where they are and helping them to take simple incremental steps and move forward, I started getting the best results of my life and actually started allowing people the opportunity to transform their life, right? And
Absolutely.
so, yeah, so thank you for that. So I know we're running out of time. We have like 9 minutes, but I just kind of want to shift gears a little bit, because, if you're in private practice, that's your business. That's your income. Taking care of people and helping them is how you're providing for yourself. If you're working in a hospital system, or, for a corporate entity, that's your job and it's providing for your family. Very rarely do I ever meet anybody that doesn't connect with the heart and the soul of what we're talking about, and they're not awakened to the need of it. They're like, yes, but how do we actually make that happen? And that was ingenious to me. I mean, changed my life, right? I do still own my practice, but guess what? I see patients 10 hours a week now. That's a completely different lifestyle. I have 3 children. I've been part of every aspect of their life because of the business model that allowed me to serve people. So, Dr. A, if you could just share, just very briefly, like if someone's sitting here saying, yes, but I'm working full time, how do I make this shift? How does this happen? When I came into this, I saw you do that with thousands of people, surgeons and doctors and chiropractors and massage therapists and stay-at-home moms and everybody in between. Maybe you could just give everybody a synopsis of, where do I start from here? How do I make this real in my life? And is this a financial viable option for me long term?
Yeah, Mike, that's the heart of it, because the world is so skeptical. So, hopefully over the hour you've seen, I'm the same, whether, all the time. And I find by being authentic and being that and feeling that, I know that this modality is added not just probably 10 years to my life, because I look at my colleagues, they look like from the, in the Indiana Jones, the drinking from the chalice, and they choose poorly and they turn into a skeleton and turn to dust, right? I mean, they are gone. And yeah, they made pretty good money, lots of stress, and now they're all on medications, basically having to spend the money to take care of their health. I take no medications. And since I started this, and you had to do a lot of the heavy lifting of it. I know the model not only is, if you really care about your patients, and that's the thing for healthcare professionals. Healthcare professionals have busted their butts their whole life. Everything from the amount of education, while everybody else was partying, you were studying, to taking care of a changing world where, everybody wants a womb with a front window in it. No one wants to take care of their health. They want you to do it for them. It's like they think that they're going into auto repair shop for their bodies. They're on multiple medicines. You're stressed out, and you're on that hamster wheel. And so, getting off that hamster wheel, I like to look at it this way. When I started this, I looked at what do people need to create health, and I came up with the trilogy. which is your physical, mental, and your financial health. And your physical health is pretty obvious. Your mental health is obvious. Financial health is that in the world of medicine in general, all aspects of healthcare professionals, is that you're getting paid less to do more work and more stress. It's not easier. It's gotten harder because, and people are not as easy to work with. I mean, I just know on a plane, when I look at flight attendants, the job they have, the public has gotten to the point where they are one big pain in the ass. I hate to say it. So I know how hard it is what you do. What I know is this. I know that over the years, working with healthcare professionals, I know that physicians, their happiest moment during the day, number one, is when their Optavia patients come in because they're grateful, they're feeling better, they're coming off medications. They're just better in all areas of their health. And we can't make claims that come off medications, but the reality is that's what we find out because as you get healthier, you don't need those things as much. So that, first of all, you're now interfacing with people with a different dynamic, not telling them what to do, and then they're going out and, because I always ask physicians, when was the last time you lowered or eliminated a medication on a patient, right? So the first thing is the joy of getting back. When I took the Hippocratic Oath, bottom line, the first thing was do no harm. Well, medications do harm, and that's why in the PDR, there's one little box of indications and 8 pages of side effects. Medications are okay if you get hit by a car, you need surgery, or you have an infection, but for chronicity, they don't work real well. And they're all basically have big side effects. So by actually helping people get healthy, I think we bring the joy back into what we're doing. Number 2, you spent a whole bunch of time in your practice building patient rapport. People trust you. So if you can give them an alternative now, even if bottom line is part of that alternative may be going on one of the new GLP-1 drugs. Obviously, if they're open to using the 5-in-1 and just using the fuelings, that's a great start. But if they do need them, knowing that now you're going to provide them a comprehensive approach where you're giving them an advantage over some doctor just writing a script for a GLP-1 drug. So in the beginning, you're giving them a better path and they're not going to know any better. So you're going to start helping them. The third part is, bottom line is, by you now starting that and using or helping your patients get healthy, you're going to start making income. You can, the average family doctor has about 5,000 patients in their practice. They put 2% on those medications. You're going to make an additional $100,000 a year of income. So, they're and you're giving great value because no one gets paid unless someone's actually using the feelings and getting healthier. So that's a great advantage. And then the other part is, so many people that want to get healthy. That's how we're at the point, Mike, where you're now only having to work 10 days a week, where JC, you've been able to stop having to practice and really enjoy the time. And you have a complex life, and translocating your new daughter from South Africa. I mean, you wouldn't have had time to do any of that. You wouldn't have the true joy in your life because you couldn't leverage your time before. You had to be there. So the beauty is you can start this part-time, and I'd ask you in the 3 areas of the trilogy, because right now on average, healthcare professionals are working 40 plus hours a week, 50, 60, I don't know how many hours you work, but ask yourself in 3 key areas of the trilogy. Is your physical health going to get better without Optavia in your life? In the next 5 years, is your physical health going to get better, be the same, or be worse? And you know the answer. I'll let you come up to that own conclusion yourself. How about your mental health? Is it going to get better, be the same, or get worse? And then the third is, how about your financial health? Is it going to get better, be the same, or get worse? Because bottom line, simply by start by bringing your patients onto the program to help them do what's in their best interest, immediately over the next 5 years, by Optavia becoming a bigger progressive part, because you'll make time. Once you see how well it works, you're going to prioritize. And if in your office you're really busy, you can pick somebody in your office to work with you and be a coach with you that actually does the individual coaching. So you have on this call people that are doing this, and it's dramatically changing. And I can tell you that over the next 5 years, and I'll ask you, Mike, since you asked me the question, over the next 5 years, basically, let's just go back a couple of years, right? Is your physical health, now that Optavia is part of it, is your physical health better, the same, or worse than it was 5 years ago?
The best my physical health has ever been right now.
Okay. How about your mental health?
Never been better.
Okay, and how about your financial health?
That I have freedom to do what I want when I want,
Yeah.
how I
Yeah.
want to do it.
Yeah, so again, that's all I have to say about that is that we're a real program. We give real results. We care very much. You know, I started this in 2001. Okay, I left that what I did in 2001. That was 23 years ago. Do I look like I'm burnout or in any way want to go off? And you people go, well, when are you going to retire? And I go, are you kidding me? I mean, just look at this last hour. I've been able to talk to you. If just one of you has your life change because of that, then you know what? That's the kind of value I've looked to do. We can help people create health. Love to help you guys.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. A. And you know, you just said it, but I remember when I started with 5 hours a week, guys. 5 hours a week. And you just said it, Dr. A. I was having so much fun in those hours, and those 5 hours were so productive. I was getting so much joy from them. I couldn't wait to find 5 more hours, right? And so this can be done. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. You know, the heart of why JC and I brought this together, and by the way, we meet here every Thursday at 1 o'clock, and you're all welcome. It's a different Zoom room than this. So connect with whoever invited you. Everybody's welcome. And I saw a question in the chat of, you know, how do we share this with other providers? You know, how do we integrate this into our offices or into our practice or into our life? You know, that's what we talk about every week. We come in here as healthcare providers. We speak a common language of, you know, helping people get healthier. And that's what we do. We mastermind, right? And we talk and we share, and it's safe, right? You can come in here and feel safe that you can be you and share and talk. So come back and join us. Whoever invited you here today, we would encourage you to follow up with them. You know, our heart in creating this was we saw what this did for our lives, and we saw the need, right? The thing that really flipped the switch for me is I was sitting in COVID, I was in private practice, and I was looking at my colleagues, and I was thinking, what in the world would I be doing right now if I didn't have this, right? Within 5 days, my practice was cut in half, right? What would I be doing? And I just started reaching out and saying, I just want to offer you some hope, you know? That's what we're here to do for each other. You know, there's people out there that are trading 60, 70 hours of their life whenever they could be living a totally different life and getting the rewards of Dr. A is talking about. So thank you for joining us today. Connect with whoever invited you. JC, do you want to tie a bow on this and we can run away?
I will. I will. First of all, just once again, congratulate you all for allowing yourself to be exposed, taking the right protect switch off your brain for a day and allowing yourself to be exposed to something like this. You're already winning compared to most. And the only thing I would leave you with is allow yourself sometime today, allow yourself to ask yourself personally what you want for your life. Because a lot of times we forget about that as health professionals. We get very, very much entrenched, heart-driven into serving others. And I loved that. But I never acknowledged what I wanted for my life because it just didn't make sense. Everything revolved around what I was trying to accomplish in practice. So just allow yourself to do that and maybe share that with the person. If you feel comfortable, share that with the person that invited you here, what it is that you want. You could even whisper it. Just be like, what I want is this. And that would be a great starting point. And like we said, we're always here every week. And Dr. A, you know, we can't thank you enough just for being here today, but just for this amazing space, this psychological safe haven, this optimal health community that you created for just thousands of health professionals to just really expand and enjoy life more, and help more people, impact more people, have a better life. So grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Let's go change the world together.